Welcome to the Shabby Fabrics at Home Studio. I am so excited all of you could join us here today to create something beautiful. You all are going to love our project today. And the best part about our project today is that this is a beginner-friendly sewing project. No machine necessary. It's for someone just like me. I'm one of you today that is new to sewing. And I'm just going to go over the basics and show you some of the things that I have learned. I know that when you first get into sewing, it can be a little difficult getting overwhelmed with everything that you need. And so we are going to send it in a kit with all the supplies necessary for you. Let me show you first what we are making. So we will be making these beautiful linen texture fringe napkins with these leather, faux leather rings that go around them here. This is by Makower Fabrics, and I just love the rustic, organic look that these give. I've seen these in shops before, and I thought, you know what? I can definitely make it. And as a beginner, I have made these here, and so I know that it can seem daunting, but it is possible. We will be hand sewing these today, and I will show you the step-by-step process to get started. What will come in your kit is going to be the fabric, the beautiful thread that pairs with it so nicely, and then also the faux leather fabric for you to make your own leather rings. And so to get started, you're going to want to cut your fabric into a 16 by 16 square. You're going to want to iron press your fabric to make sure you get any wrinkles out of the way, to make sure that you're getting a very accurate cut each time and taking proper measurements. And then from there, you're going to want to mark your fabric. I am using our Creative Grids ruler. I'm using the larger one. This is 6.5 by 24 because I want to be able to connect the two dots here. We're going to start by making a 1-inch border around here. And it seems like a lot, but as a beginner, like I said, you want to be able to follow each line perfectly to make this beautiful double stitch here. It's easy to kind of get lost in the beginning when you're first starting out. So this will help you just stay right on track. What we're going to do is we're going to create the 1-inch border, and then around that 1-inch border, we're going to make tick lines here for every 1/4 of an inch. So we have our friction pen. And this pen is great because it erases when you apply heat to it. So if you kind of get outside of your line there, you can erase it, start over. These are very beginner-friendly pens. This will be your best tool you have available to you. So with your 1-inch border, you're going to make a tick mark there every 1/4 of an inch, and you're going to keep going along your 1-inch border. From there, you're going to create a second border that is a 1/4 of an inch down. And again, you're going to take your tick lines and do the same every 1/4 of an inch. So you're going to have two borders that are a 1/4 of an inch all the way around to make our stitch that we have here. Once you have your markings, you're going to make sure, first of all, make sure that your fabric are wrong sides together. So that means that your fabric pattern is on the front, and you're putting the sides that don't have the same colors like they do together. And we're going to pin these to stay in place. So that way when you're making your stitch, you aren't moving around. You're doing it, right together. So these are our clover patchwork pins. And then this is also the little caddy that we have here. This is magnetic. So if you bump them and they spill all over the place, you can just easily, like I said, look at that there, just magnetic. It's magical. And so we're going to pin these together, make sure that they're properly aligned, like so. And we're just going to apply pins to make sure that it is not moving anywhere. And you will do it all the way around here and make sure that they're staying nice and close. When you're kind of finding your way, being a beginner, you're sometimes moving the fabric around, trying to find your right hand placement, getting used to how it feels sewing. And so this is a crucial step to make sure none of it is moving. And these pins are great. They stay nice and together. They won't get lost everywhere. And we'll just continue to add a few more pins here. Oops. Get this nice and straight. Okay, so once you have it all pinned nicely together, we're going to start by threading our needle. So we are using the Shabby Fabrics Chanel needles, and this is going to be great for our Thread that we're using is the eleganza thread. Like I said, we're sending this with you in your kit because it pairs just so beautifully with this fabric here. And we're going to double thread our needle to give it a thicker appearance to really stand out on this napkin. And once you have it double threaded here, we're going to start by, you're going to put your needle in the middle here. And this is going to hide any knots that we're going to get as we make our stitching here. And we're going to start on this middle border here. We're not going to start on the first border. We want to start with the second one because we don't want to then not be able to get to our second one once it is sewn. So we're going to start by placing it on our first mark, and we're going to go through the fabric and pull it. And now our knot will be hidden in the middle there. And basically, when you are sewing along here, you are skipping every other 1/4 of an inch tick line that you made. So now we're going to go down the fabric here on our next line and pull it through. And we are creating a running stitch. And from there, we're going to go down through the underside of our fabric and pull it through. And then the same motion over the next tick line. So since I skipped it, you can see that there is a space there that's going to create our stitching pattern. And with this double threaded, it stands out nice along this napkin here. I'll show you a few more times, and then down. And then as you get a little bit more comfortable, as you're starting to sew along, you can then go on your tick line and kind of work your way through the fabric, doing it a little bit quicker, and then pull it through, doing multiple. So you can see here I have multiple there. Oops. And then we're pulling it through. There we go. And that's kind of a quicker process to go along, but I do recommend just getting comfortable with, going in and out the regular way, because you don't want to get too quick and start to go off of your lines. Since we are just newer starting out, it can get a little bit off the line or a little bit crooked, and we don't want that as either. So once you have, you're going to go all the way around this middle border. It is going to look like so, where we have just the middle here, and you'll have your outer tick lines. Same thing every single time your thread gets short and you need to rethread your needle, you're going to still, again, start in the middle here and just continue to go all the way around. From there, you're going to do the second line. Again, start in the middle and go all the way around with your stitching. And you're going to have this double stitch here that creates this beautiful design and the nice and thick thread, and it's going to look beautiful. Don't worry, this is a beginner-friendly project. These are supposed to be a more natural, rustic look. So if you feel like you don't love your, maybe it's not as straight as you would like, start over. This is a beginner process. This is a learning process for all of us. And you will start to get the hang of it as you go along. So as you begin stitching both borders, we're going to start fraying the fabric. And how we're going to do this is, I learned a little trick that I'll share with you guys. To fray the fabric, you're going to want to fray it about a 1/2 inch into this 1-inch border that we created with our line here. So we are going to make this fray. We're going to actually grab some scissors. I like these Karen K. Buckley scissors. I think they do a great job. They're light. And we're going to just make a few slits. I like to do it a little bit smaller, about 2 inches or so. And I'm just going to make 2 cuts here first just to show you the process. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to pull the threads out to create the fray. And then to actually create it, we're going to use, I like to use a seam ripper, but really you can use tweezers, a pin if you'd like. It just needs to be something sturdy that is able to grab each thread one by one. And we're just going to start grabbing a thread here and pulling it out. And as you can see, because we made those cuts, it just easily comes out, and we can pull the thread here and it begins to create a fray. And we'll just keep coming along, grabbing those threads, and again, pulling it. And we're just going to keep going until we get it frayed all the way around here. And it will get easier as you go along because the threads are loosening up, but this cutting trick works great for if you're wanting to. It can get frustrating with working with a long piece of fabric because you're having to pull out bigger thread or longer thread, and this just makes it much easier to pull, you know, larger amounts at a time, and you just work your way across the entire border here. And this is going to give it this lovely frayed edge. You can do more fray if you would like. I would just go up right to our stitching there. We don't want it to get loose, but I think 1/2 inch looks pretty good on these. This one I did a little bit of a thinner fray if you'd like, but once you start to get going, it really is easy to just pull those threads out and create a fray. All right, so once we've added the fringe to our napkin, that is complete. Like I said, it is so easy to make the napkin itself. If you're a beginner just like I am, don't be worried. I promise you it will turn out beautiful. And like I said, you could definitely start again. We're providing you with enough material for this to be a beginner project for you to repeat it as many times as you need to. And so now that we have our napkins made, we're going to move on to these faux leather napkin rings. And these are so simple and easy to make. And they really hold tight with those napkins there. And I think that they just pair so beautifully to give into that organic, rustic look that these napkins already have. So what we're going to do is you're going to cut your leather fabric into 4 2x8 strips. This is going to be your rings here. And we're going to actually turn them over to make our markings because any markings that we make will just kind of slip off of this. So we're going to turn it over to the back. So this is a 2x8 inch strip here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our marks to cut and make the rings. So what we're going to do is we're first going to make a mark here at 2 inches. So we're going to line it up. This is a spinning mat here that is available for you to order as well. If you're newer to sewing, this helps, you know, cut your fabric, just make extra precise markings. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a line here all the way across at 2 inches. And I'm using a white marking pen. This is a Clover marking pen. Again, can be erased with water or an iron. We're using the white because we can't see it on the back side here. So we're gonna make a mark at 2 inches there, and then a mark at 2 inches on the other side. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to go in 1/4 of an inch from that line and make another mark there. And this is going to be our loop that we're creating. And then again on the other side, 1/4 of an inch to the end, like so. Let me make this line darker here that I made. I can't really see it. We're just going to go over it again and make it nice and white. There we go. And then 1/4 of an inch over again. And then from there, we have our 2 lines. We're going to turn our strip here, and we're going to make a mark 1 inch over. And this is going to be our center point to create our angled edges here. So we're going to at 1 inch over, make a mark there. Get that white here, and then another mark 1 inch over as well. Oops, let's line it up. All right, so we have our 2 points on the ends and then our 2 lines, and we are going to then cut the edges here into the points, and we're going to create the 2 slits that then tie them together. So you can use a rotary cutter to make sure that you're getting an extra precise line, but with this leather material, it can be a little bit harder to use the rotary cutter, and to make the slits, it is easier to just use the scissors. So we're going to use the scissors today. I'm using my Karen K. Buckley ones again, very lightweight, make a very precise cut, and I am going to make a cut from my first 2 inch mark to that 1 inch mark at the top here. and we're just going to make a diagonal cut like so. And then the other side, line it up at the point to the 2-inch mark like that. And other side, just like so. This faux leather material isn't necessarily hard to cut, but you do need to add a little bit more pressure, so the scissors will work great. Otherwise, a rotary cutter is also helpful. From there though, this is where scissors are necessary. What we're going to do is we're going to fold our strip here in half. And we're going to make two cuts here where our two markings are. So we're gonna go about 1/4 of an inch or so, about halfway between this line here, and make one slit. And then again, halfway, and make one more slit. Then we're gonna go over to these other lines here, halfway, slit, and another slit. And what this does is it creates the slits here for each side to kind of fold into and create kind of a secure, just a security for your napkin to give it that fringe look, to make sure that that shows, and it just holds it all together nicely. So I recommend starting, with your napkin here to just get the sizing. And what we're going to do is we're going to see our slit here, how it has those two markings. We're going to go under and over to that second slit. So I'm skipping this slit. I'll show it again from underneath here. I am going under this bar here and into that second slit, and I am pulling it forward. And then with this side here, I am going under both sides. Let me show this again. Under the second, and we're gonna kind of keep a good hold on this one, and then under both on this side. Under both slits. And then from there, we're going to pull both sides through, and it's going to create a secure ring. So you can see we have both slits that these edges are under, and it's just creating a nice little design, but it's also holding our ring tight. From there, you can kind of slide it up and down and give it kind of that more of a fringe look, and just hold it tightly. It's, like I said, so easy to make. We gave you, you'll make 4 of these, and then you'll have a little bit of additional material in case you mess up your markings. But I do recommend this white marking pen. Like I said, just because any other color does make it hard to see on the back. You do kind of need to make a few lines so you can see it, but it is easy to see once you do. And there you have it. Like I said, this is a beginner-friendly project. I hope it was simple and easy for you to do, just like it was for me. I hope that you watch this and feel empowered to make something beautiful. I know it can feel daunting sometimes, but I think that you're going to really enjoy this process and start to fall in love with sewing and making something beautiful for your home. There's nothing better than when your guests come over, when these beautiful napkins are arranged on the table and they wonder where you bought these napkins, and you can say you made them. So thank you for following along, and I will see you next time for our next tutorial. And make sure in that meantime that you follow our Shabby Fabrics channel, subscribe and like this video, and then also follow along our Instagram and Pinterest accounts. That is @HomeWithShabby, and I will see you next time.